There are a couple questions about this process, which is why I want to go into it today. Do you have a template for monitoring? Like, what do you do about EQ and things like that? Are you recording in dry, like no EQ going in, nothing on the 1073, and then you put EQ and compression more in the computer? Or what is the setup in the computer?
Yeah, so basically I'll probably have on the CL1B, I'll have it on 2-to-1 ratio because I don't want to have high ratio, given that if something does happen and it pulls hard,
you don't have to go crazy. Yeah,
it's not going crazy, right? So I always have it at 2. So I'm doing the minimum compression I can on the outside, but enough so that it doesn't clip and blah blah blah. When I get on the inside,
some of that tube sound of the CL1B,
and you get some of the tube sound and everything. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now the part that goes into the session, and I took this from Chris's old engineer Brian Springer, because he gave me the template and then I adjusted the template. Color coding wise, routing wise, I kind of made my thing, but I kept one thing, which was the 3 record tracks. So basically the way that it works is I have one main record track, okay? And as I'm recording Chris, the vocal comes through there's an auxiliary with auto-tune on it. So the vocal comes into that auxiliary from input 1, right?
Yeah.
It hits auto-tune, it goes out of a bus, and it hits my record track. Now on the record track, I only have an EQ. And I have a reverb send and a delay send. And that EQ is like an 80 cut and then like 10K shelf up, just a little bit of boost on the top end. Now this is where it gets like funky. So basically I have compression happening in Pro Tools, right? Yeah. But it won't happen until I've pulled the vocals from the record tracks and I put it on the lead tracks. So those record tracks are going to 1 and 2, which means that it's coming from the CL1B in through the aux, hits the record track, sends to reverb and delay, EQs, and then you hear it 1 and 2 out.
So right? He's not hearing any extra compression, but
not when he's recording.
When you play it back, he's hearing it sounding.
Now here's the thing. When I'm recording a verse, for example, right? I have 3 record tracks, and the reason why I have 3 is instead of cutting a vocal and then dragging it all the way up here, right? I cut it and I drag here, drag here, drag here, drag here, drag here, and then I grab. When I'm done with the verse, I grab that and I put it on the lead vocal track. Because I'm saving time, and maybe there's like the verse track is up here, and so that move causes more time for me to lose from having to then.
And it's repetitive time, even though it's just a split second. It's many
seconds. And with someone like Chris, who is so good at what he does and knows exactly how to record a vocal, like it'll be like he'll sing the vocal, and almost as if he's right as he's finishing the line, he's already saying next. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's that fast with everything. So having things closer and then dragging it all up. So you don't actually hear any compression until I've brought it up to the verse.
Nothing beyond the CL1B, yeah.
Yeah, so that actually is good because I'm able to hear, is this shit sound okay? Or am I just getting a ton of compression after and it sounds good? Is it clipping? Whatever it might be, I'm able to tell because I'm listening to it clean from the CL1B essentially with just the cut and the boost. And that's it. No compression, nothing. Reverb and delay is sending right from the record track. You know what I mean? So that he could still have the reverb and delay. If not, it would be dry.
Right, exactly. Somebody was asking about playlists in there.
Yes.
It sounds like what you're doing is every take, he's doing like line by line. And so you're getting a whole verse. And it's like when one is done, he goes, great, next line. Meaning that's probably 99% of the time, that's the finished vocal.
That's done. Yeah.
But you'll also, if he's like, let me do it again, you'll playlist, so you'll have everything.
I playlist
if you need to access it.
I playlist everything, and I'm going to tell you why. There's been so many times in the mixing part of it where, and especially with backgrounds, because when you're cutting backgrounds, it's not like the lead. The lead is usually way too loud when you're cutting. That's on purpose, right? But when you're doing backgrounds, you're tucking backgrounds and you're recording them and then you're putting them down,
and layers, and let me do a double, let me do
layers and layers,
and the fourth one sounds right. Yeah.
Right. And when he's doing the backgrounds, he's also like, oh, let me get that again. And when he does that, I obviously playlist it, right? So what'll happen is I'll start mixing it and then I might get down to like the low vocal. And I'll hear a pop in the vocal, which maybe landed on the snare. So I never heard it when it was recording, right?
Yeah.
And then I go, boom, let me check my playlist. So I'll go to the playlist and boom, 800 playlists. Boom, boom, start trying to find that line and I can catch it. Maybe I found one, right? But it's out of key a little bit. But where the pop is, it's not out of key. So let me grab that and then I'll go and I'll literally find where the waveforms go and I'll set it in place and crossfade it. And it's usually a background. So if it's a little bit like there's a little bump you hear, you know how when there's like a little bump from a fade? It's not the click. and it's a background thing. So it's good to know like when to make those decisions too. Like it doesn't have to be perfect if it's going to be some low hidden thing underneath. Make it as best you can and keep it moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting too that you, in all these situations, there's a trust between the two of you. Both you're trusting his skill and intuition, and he's trusting your ability to figure it out. That you want to move quickly to capture the moments as they're happening, but then you're setting yourself up with the way you're doing playlisting and all that, so that if you need to come back later, you have the ability. So you're not really sacrificing. You're going for excitement, but then making sure if for some reason there's something that's a little screwy, you can get it on the back end.
And I'll tell him like if there's something that's like that I hear that's wrong. If it's something, especially the lead, because the lead is everything, I'll tell him like, yo, there was a pop there, or you hit the beginning of the word too hard. You know how sometimes when they go to sing the line, they hit the first one too hard just because they don't have that like ramp up to it, you know?
Yep.
No, you got to get the beginning over, and I'll punch you in, and he'll know just to sing through it. And that'll
sing the end of the previous line so you can get smooth.
Yeah, so that happens all the time. And sometimes I'll remind him, but he's pretty good about it to sing along because he knows what I'm doing. And that's important is the person to understand what you're doing and why you have to sing from the line before. So he'll understand that like if you don't sing from the line before, it'll sound like an edit. You know what I mean? So that's part of it is communicating to the artist like, yo, do it like this. And if they need you to tell them why, or show them, tell them to do it how they want to do it. And then you'll play it for them and you'll say, see, you know what I mean? So it's like, this is how it is, man.
It's great. No, I mean, these are the sort of things. We got a lot of questions this week about people asking about recording clients, wanting to hear things that sounded like finished records, finished vocals. And the answer is you got to prep for that and get your templates right and get your flow so that when somebody records a vocal, you can immediately pop it onto the other track and it sounds like a finished record to them or as close as possible.